Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Anchor Team. I am your tardy host, Michael Hitchmorn, and this is my co-pilot, Jim Mon.
How are you guys doing?
So, yes, Mom, it hit 85 today, and I'm dying. It is hot. It's too hot. you know the rent is too dang hot guy, or the rent is too dang high, dude, from New York.
Yeah.
Had that weird face. He ran for public office.
Yeah.
I'm running for office because the rent is too dang high. Well, outside it's too dang hot.
Wow, in March.
Can't take 85. Ugh. All right. So why don't we go ahead and jump into our prayer, and then we'll catch up on a bunch of stuff, and I'll let you know why I'm tardy. So, in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum. Benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostri. Amen.
Our Lady of Victory.
Pray for us.
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Okay. So, first of all, let me go ahead and tell you why I'm late. I'm late because I just finished, as in like an hour ago, editing, rendering, and uploading the 21-minute video response that I've been putting together on Catholic Relief Services. It's that response, to Bishop Caggiano's claim that, we're not going to talk to the Lepanto Institute because they just always come up with these weird, wild accusations, and they never say anything true. They always take us out of context and twist our words, and we're just not going to respond to that. So we went ahead and did a video response. I just did all the editing. It took me 2 weeks. Took me a couple of weeks to get the video editing done. It's not uploaded. Well, I'll tell you what, because you all are Anchor Team members, and for no other reason, I am going to give you, okay, let me get the link here. I'm going to give you the preview of the video. All I ask is that you do not share this link because this is not public yet. Let me repeat that. This is not public yet. But again, to show my appreciation for everything that you guys do and for your willingness to put up with me every Friday, I'm giving you the link so that you can see exactly what I've been working on for 2 weeks and why I'm late. So there it is. It's in the comments box. You can watch it after tonight's show. And then please do me a favor, send me an email and let me know what you thought. Don't like or comment or anything on the video. Don't do anything like that. Just send me an email and tell me what you thought. What are your thoughts on my video? And I'd greatly appreciate that. So the other thing that we've been working on, and this is something that Jim and I have been working on, I mean, we have just slogged for the last couple of weeks on this. Right. But we've been scheduling, recording all of the talks for the conference on the Great Apostasy. Jim has been, wow, what a lifesaver, because he's been going through and talking to all of the speakers, coordinating with them, scheduling with them, actually doing the video record here through this format that we're actually working with. So he's been using this format in order to record those talks. And then he's been sending me the links or the videos so that I can go ahead and do the video editing that goes with that. So I got more video editing to do.
Yeah, which is like the lion's share of the work, to be honest. But Hitch, can I tell you this? It's been fascinating listening to these guys. They suffer in making sure, because they really take this giving this message very seriously. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're asking me, what I think. I was like, "You're the guy with the PhD. Why are you asking me?"
Yeah.
No, they really.
We've got a great lineup too.
Oh, I mean, tremendous.
The people that we've been able to get, we've got Father McTeague.
Absolutely.
We've got Desmond Burke, who wrote the book Trial, Tribulation, and Triumph.
Right.
We've got Father James Altman,
Altman, right?
who I spoke with this afternoon, and he's scheduled to give his presentation on April 7th or 8th.
Right.
Let's see, who else did we get? We Dr. Mazzara.
Sorry, Mazza.
Mazza.
Right. He was great. Professor Dr. Kwasniewski.
Dr. Kwasniewski. Yep.
He was tremendous. And these guys really they honed their message. And you had told them 50 minutes and they were down to the word. They broke this. And every one of them was fascinating.
Wow. Yeah.
I got to tell you, honestly, I was really riveted to it. It's really worth it. It's really been really a pleasure doing this. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. And I just did Father McTeague. He was tremendous. I
love Father McTeague.
He was great.
Great.
He was really good.
Yeah. So Dr. Mazza was referred to us by our friend Jesse Romero.
Yep.
I had asked Jesse to be a part of the program, and he said, "Look, at first he agreed, and then he said, I don't really feel qualified." He said, "But I do know somebody who is," and he sent us Dr. Mazza. So I don't know Dr. Mazza's qualifications. You actually did the recording with him. What do you know about him?
Well, he was a professor. First of all, he's a professor on the West Coast. He was at, I believe, Pacific International University, if I'm not mistaken. They had a shakeup at the university when COVID hit. He got let go, and now he does a lot of philosophy, theology, history courses online. But he works with Jesse on Virgin Most Powerful Radio, and so his background, he's been in the teaching profession for years, and he really, like the rest of them, he had a great angle to Protestantism, and that's what he discussed, right? Mm-hmm. And he talked about the Protestant Reformation and how this all ties into the Great Reset, and he was riveting. I mean, the interesting thing about all these guys is you can tell that they're no stranger to standing up in front of people trying to get forth an idea.
Right.
He definitely knows his stuff, and as I said, he's got a PhD. I don't exactly know where he did his dissertation, but all legit, And he's really sort of taking off now, and wants to do something sort of privately. So
awesome, yeah. So somebody asked what his first name was. It's Dr. Edmund.
Yes,
Mazza.
Edmund Mazza, right?
So anyway, that's been something that we have been really working hard to put together. Dr. Mazza had a brilliant historical commentary on Junipero Serra. No kidding. I'd love to see it, because the priest that married my grandparents was the priest who was in charge of the cause of Junipero Serra's canonization.
Really?
Yeah, Father Noel.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Great.
So that's pretty cool. That's neat. I'd like to meet Dr. Mazza and talk to him about that.
And don't remember Brother Andre Marie. He was great.
Oh, yes.
He was great. Yep.
Awesome. So we've got all these speakers lined up. We've also been working with somebody who is putting together the registration website. So the registration website will be up hopefully in the next week. It just depends on how quickly I can get
the bio.
Some of the other stuff put together. But the website is well on its way. I wrote a bunch of copy for it this week. So if you're wondering why I'm late and why I haven't got the newsletter out this week, because I haven't written it yet, this is why. Our week has been packed.
Yeah, quite honestly, we haven't stopped. And 2 General Quarter shows we got done this week, and so it really has been nonstop, and it's been a blast, actually.
Oh,
it really has been fun.
If you think I'm busy, I got to show you something. So today, we have a chicken. We have about 10 chickens, and we have a chicken. So this is the normal size egg that we get. We have a chicken that laid Eggzilla.
Whoa.
I mean, this thing is twice the size of this thing. This is a large egg. This is what you would get if you were to buy large eggs at the grocery store. This is a dinosaur egg. I don't know where this came from. But I half expect a T-Rex to come out of this thing.
Yes.
One other thing I want to share with you guys before we get into tonight's topic, and let me find the link because I pulled one up so that I could. There it is. Okay. Yesterday was the Feast of the Annunciation. And every year, my wife and I pray the 9-month novena that goes from the Feast of the Annunciation all the way to Christmas Eve. So March 25th to December 25th. And this novena, it's an incredibly powerful novena. You get 3 intentions. So you pray the novena every night, and typically you want to pray for something that's kind of out of reach, something a really difficult cause. And so here is the link. I want to share it with you all. This is what I'm going to focus on in my newsletter this week. I'm going to tell everybody, here's the novena, pray this novena, pick 3 intentions. And I highly recommend one of them being something related to the church and something related to our country, because we are in for extremely rough times. As I said, my wife and I have prayed this novena every year. Gosh, I want to see for almost 10 years now. And every year we have seen at least one, if not all of our prayer intentions answered in a very clear and very beautiful way. We've seen lives saved. We've seen vocations saved. We've seen souls saved. And it's an incredibly powerful novena. And I exhort all of you to take a look at it, pray it, and adopt it. It's a beautiful novena. I love this novena. Just so that you understand what it is, you pray the Hail Holy Queen. And then after that, you say, O Virgin of the Incarnation, 1,000 times we greet thee. 1,000 times we praise thee for the joy thou didst know, and the Son of God was made flesh in thy womb. The wording on this is different than what we use. Because thou art most powerful, O Virgin Mother of God, grant what we beseech thee for the love of God. And then you make your request. And then you do this 3 times. So your first request, then your second request, then your third request. And then it's the Memorare. And then that's followed by, this is, okay. So then you say Hail Mary, and then you, this one's a little bit, okay. So this one's a little different than what we usually pray, but the real novena prayer is the Virgin of the Incarnation one. And it's a great meditation. I absolutely love praying it. It's funny, Christmas comes and I find myself sad that I don't have it to pray at the end of the day with my wife. It's one of those things, all the kids are in bed and it's just the 2 of us, and it's just our novena. And that's what we've done for about 10 years now. So it's a great novena. I highly recommend it. You can light candles as you pray it if you like. I think that's a good idea. It's a great practice. So, and when you use the sacramentals of the church in conjunction with prayer, it can only increase the effectiveness of your prayers. So yeah, absolutely, light candles. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of give you guys all of that insight and all the information that we're working on. And yes, you can start it late. And in fact, I mean, you missed a day, so just say 2. Say it twice today, or say it twice tomorrow, or whatever. But you can make up for the day. That's the beautiful thing about the difference between prayer and magic. So prayer, you're having a conversation with somebody. I'm talking to you guys, and I'm communicating with you about a particular topic. Now, I was late, but you guys forgave my tardiness. If I was sick today, or if I had forgotten today, and I begged your forgiveness, and I said, look, we'll do a makeup day, you would allow that to happen. So with a novena, that's how it works. You can miss a day. It's okay to miss a day, as long as it's, you're not doing it deliberately. Like, I'm not going to say the novena today. I'm going to go watch my ball game. No, I mean, if you're doing that, then you're not praying. Prayer is a communication in a relationship. That's what it is. And magic is an incantation that is said in a very ritualistic manner for a presumed effect. That's how magic works. So prayer is not magic. A lot of people today have a misconception that, gosh, I didn't say those words right, or gosh, I didn't say my novena today, so I guess I can't pray the novena. That's not the case at all. It's not the case at all. Our Lord and Our Lady are they are real people. They are people. They are persons. And they want to have a relationship with us. So that relationship that we have in prayer is what is drawn out. And that's why it's okay to miss a day on a novena or to have a makeup day. It's perfectly acceptable. There's nothing magical to it, so to speak. All right. So to tonight's topic, we had chosen the topic to be universal health care and Pope Francis. Now, the thing is, and I want to apologize in advance, I haven't had a chance to prepare for this as much as I normally would, but Jim and I have been having conversations, and he graciously put together a set of notes that I'm going to be pulling from. So, to open, for several years, Pope Francis has talked openly about a vision for the world. Sadly, this vision is based in secular human systems. It's actually quite shocking when you look at it. Laudato Si is a document that he produced, but he did so at the behest of members of the United Nations. Now, what I know about Laudato Si, and I've talked about this before, Pope Francis was approached by Ban Ki-moon and Jeffrey Sachs at the United Nations almost immediately after he was elected Pope. So he becomes Pope, and Jeffrey Sachs and Ban Ki-moon, within months, go and visit with the Pope. What they reported was that they were talking about the Sustainable Development Goals, which are 17 universal goals to be implemented around the world under the auspices of the United Nations for the implementation of programs that ostensibly fight poverty. That's what they claim to be anyway. It claims to be a poverty fighting program. It's not. It's a population reduction program.
Yes, it is.
But they met with Pope Francis to talk about the Sustainable Development Goals. What they reported was that Pope Francis said that he was going to commit the entire church to the promotion of the Sustainable Development Goals. And a year later, he published Laudato Si. And Laudato Si made several references to sustainable development. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't have the document in front of me, but if I'm not mistaken, he actually made a reference to universal health care or some iteration of it. Now, when first looking at universal health care and the Pope's thought on this, it's imperative to take a step back and understand his philosophy. His encyclical, Laudato Si, outlines clearly his vision for the Catholic Church in terms of a worldwide wake-up, or a wake-up call, to help humanity to understand the destruction that man is rendering to the environment and his fellow man because Earth. But this is just the beginning. The Pope has very clearly aligned himself with forces in the world that wish to not only address the environment, but confront an entire array of issues confronting humanity. So again, what that boils down to is healthcare, poverty, and economic inequality. This is one of the reasons why we keep seeing sustainability show up in just about everything Pope Francis said. I have a talk that I gave a number of years ago, and I can't remember how many times I found it, but since his speech at the United Nations, he has plugged the Sustainable Development Goals and sustainability over and over and over and over again, just constantly hammering it. Now, Jim put together a bunch of notes on the Sustainable Development Goals, so I'm going to let Jim talk for a minute.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. Thanks, Hitch. So it is interesting. What's most interesting about the Sustainable Development Goals is there are 17 of them. And if you bear with me, I'm going to pop them. Hitch, you mind if I just kind of run them down real quick?
Go right ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's important important. Try to listen to. It's only one sentence each, and just try to listen to the wording here because you're going to see a lot of parallels. The first goal, number one goal, is poverty. Okay, so we're going to get rid of poverty. Number 2, zero hunger. Number 3, good health and well-being. Number 4, quality education. Number 5, gender equality. Read into that what you will. Number 6, clean water and sanitation. Number 7, affordable and clean energy. Affordable and clean energy. Wow. Number 8, decent work and economic growth.
You mean nuclear energy?
Yeah. No, I think he means solar and wind, which worked out very well for Texas a few months ago.
Right.
Right. I think that's what he means. Decent work and economic growth. Industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Okay. Reduced inequalities. That's just a disaster. Sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production.
Stop right there.
Sure.
So sustainable communities.
Yes.
Say those two again.
Sustainable cities and communities.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So by 2050, they figured that 68% of the world is going to be in an urban population, like 68%.
Yep. Yeah. What they're talking about is what was once called Agenda 21. If you want to understand that particular sustainable development goal, you have to read up on Agenda 21. Right,
which is now part of Agenda 2030, right?
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Well, the sustainable development goals are all Agenda 2030.
Yeah.
So Agenda 21 was all about taking all the world's populations and putting them in urban areas so nobody will live out in rural countrysides. You won't have farms. Everybody will have their own sustainable plot of land, which means you, Mr. Mon, will be given a plot of land and you will go ahead and farm that land. You personally, Mr. Mon, will farm your own land in order to produce your own food. And with that land and with that food, you will have your own little household that you can live in. And if you were to, have a family and you've got some kids, well, I hope you don't overgrow your plot of land to produce food on. Because if you can't feed your kids, nobody's going to feed them for you.
And you're only entitled to that part of land. It's kind of like sharecropping.
Yes.
Incredible, right? Go ahead. Sorry, Hitch.
Well, I was just going to say, think about this for just a second. What happens when you have a blight in an area?
Right.
All those people are going to die. Every single one of those people is going to die.
Centralized planning will fix it, though.
Oh, but there is no centralized planning because the sustainable development goals are all about using centralized planning to create what they call subsidiarity. It's not subsidiarity,
no,
but they call it subsidiarity so that you can have your own little plot of land and everybody has their own work and everybody does their own thing, blah, 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 blah. And that's it. And you've got community government and community everything else. And that's the end goal, but it's going to fail. It has to fail. It cannot survive. Anyway, so that's the first thing. What was the one after that?
Oh, but first, Charles Teachout, I believe his name is Teachout, sounds like communism.
It is.
It is.
Yes,
that's exactly what it is.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what it is. So this is great. It gets better, by the way. We're number 12 was responsible. No, I'm sorry. What was it? Number 11 was sustainable cities and communities. Number 12, responsible consumption and production.
Right.
There you go.
Responsible production or consumption and production, which means, you don't need to eat 3 ho-hos.
Nope.
You can have 2. Responsible production, if you're not producing, you're not eating.
Right.
From each according to his means to each according to his needs. That's what it boils down to.
Wow. Yeah, but you get meat once a week. I read that somewhere, which is I can't wait for that. So goal 13, climate action. Please. Climate action. Unsustainable consumption patterns in high-income countries are largely responsible for the climate crisis. Wow, this is the part where they go. This is where they bring in what you call scientism, right?
Mm-hmm.
They make up their own numbers, and it's got to be addressed because it just so happens that the leaders of the economic West are going to be deemed unworthy. They're the biggest polluters. Forget the fact that China and India are smoking us literally in pollution.
Yes.
It's not even close, right? But we're going to bring the West down for equality. Unbelievable. Now we have number 14, life below water. So that's basically pollution, overfishing, coastal ecosystem destruction, all exacerbated by population growth. Again, all this is tied to population growth. Got to get that down.
Mm-hmm.
Number 15, life on land, right? That means, that there's sustainable development goals. Human population growth, again.
Yep.
One of the main causes of biodiversity loss. Yikes, right?
Yep. So again, it's all population control.
All population growth. And remember, that these guys are talking about what they feel that they have developed this number from scientism, that 1 billion is a good number, Hitch. 1 billion is good. Because then the Earth so we have to get rid of the other 7.
Right.
Right. So number 16, 6.
That's what coronavirus is for.
Yeah, that's for yeah. Number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. I don't even know what that means. Right. It's like strong. Okay. The absence of prosperity and strong institutions. Population growth contributes to conflicts related to scarce resources. Again, population growth. All of these things have that in there. Right.
Right.
And number 17. Partnerships for the goals. So partnerships that recognize the links between social and environmental issues are key to a better future.
Right.
Now, what they say is, this is my favorite. COVID-19 has presented an unprecedented challenge, but opportunity, right? That we can reverse, they're reversing decades of development and causing a deep global recession, right? And so, but never has there been a more crucial time for strengthening partnerships, securing the next 10 years of collaboration for sustainable development. I think it's the only one where they didn't mention population growth, or did they? Nope. Okay. So where were we? There we go. Now, those are the UN goals, right? Now,
yep.
I think what's most interesting, let's stop for a second, Hitch. And everybody knows this, but it's worth mentioning. Okay, these are the guys the Pope's in bed with, right? Like, in other words, metaphorically, he decides that basically he's going to put the church's weight behind this, but all of these guys are talking about population curbing. And there's another angle to this discussion, and it's really worth considering. In 2014, there was this is where it sort of made people's radar. The movie that came out, and I'll put it in the show notes, and it's called No Humans Need Apply. Right. And here's the bottom line of that film. It was a 15-minute film, and it had been seen literally, I think, almost like 700 million times. People, it passed around. And what it means is that the rate of technology is advancing so fast, like, for example, and that it's outplacing jobs far greater than we ever anticipated. So, people always make the argument, well, they don't have factories that make buggy whips anymore. Not at this pace, though, Hitch.
You don't need buggy whips anymore.
Right, that's the point. But that's the point that they're trying to say. Like, in other words, well, it's nothing to be concerned about, because look at how the economy, the people assimilated. We don't make buggy whips anymore, and now all of a sudden they all got other jobs. Not at this rate. Okay, the amount of, in terms of, particularly with artificial intelligence, deep learning, and technology, the outplacement of jobs is monstrous. Just take that for what it's worth. So now we have a bunch of governments getting together under Davos World Economic Forum, and the Pope's on board with this. What are we going to do with these people, right? And so, you keep the pot stores open. You send them a check once in a while to keep them going, right? Mm-hmm. You get them used to wearing a diaper on their face, right? This is all part of the deal. Yep. And so, and I'm kind of going to it, but I think that's for another show completely. But I think between that, COVID and the outplacement of jobs and the low birth rate in Western civilization, which is another major factor, all of these things are leading towards what could be, a pretty rough time. I mean, if you follow my logic, right? So
absolutely.
What's most interesting about the Pope's language of all this is it's suspiciously close to Freemasonry.
Absolutely.
Human fraternal brotherhood. The Pope's rhetoric is masked in wording, lots of words like, brotherly and fraternity love, but it's human love. And by far, in order to discuss this in proper Christian context, we all know this. All true love and fraternity comes from Christ and his sacrifice on the cross, right? Mm-hmm. the primary goal of the Catholic Church is the salvation of souls, right?
Right.
Catholic social doctrine emerges as a natural, logical progression of that. So social justice is not the primary concern of the church, and we're so poorly catechized, no one even knows what the primary goal of the church is. I don't think I'm overstating that, right?
Well, no, you're not. And I think it just cannot be overstated just how intimately connected what we've been talking about regarding Freemasonry, the Sustainable Development Goals, Fratelli Tutti, the whole ecumenism movement, all of this stuff is interconnected. It's all interlocked. Yep. They need to reduce the human population. Why? Because a reduced human population is far more easy to control than a large human population. They need to corral this population into a particular area so that they can have their world utopia without God. And that's ultimately what the goal is here.
Yes.
They want their world utopia without God. They want to be able to say, you know what, God? We don't need you.
Right.
We can live and have a great life on this planet without you. And this is why they continue to push for transhumanism. They're pushing for this integration of man and machines. This is why they keep pushing for the growth of human organs within a body sack, an amniotic body sack, so that they can continue to replace these organs in perpetuity. They want to create an immortal life here on this planet without a supernatural life. I can't think of a greater version of hell.
Did you say the word interconnectivity? Is that the word you used? Hitch. Yeah. And this is, and I think this is really, and if you said this, forgive me, but this is where this whole thing is going, because remember, what does this all have to do with universal healthcare? They're all interconnected. Okay. It's the environment, universal healthcare, and they wrap these noble goals. But if you notice who's aligning with this, it's all the normal suspects, all the usual suspects of globalists. Yep. Who are anti-God, and I kind of interrupted you, but I think that's really worth noting, because I don't think you can have a discussion on universal healthcare without bringing up several things like, and the Pope has been very cautious not to bring up population control ever, to my knowledge, right?
Oh, except insofar as to say that people shouldn't be breeding like rabbits.
Except for that part, which is a big one. So I get to take that back. I just walked that back, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. That's right. I forgot about that. So, but even he backpedaled on that, because he said, no, I'm not changing it's crazy. But I think you can't, here's my point, Hitch. In order to understand this universal healthcare thing, you have absolutely got to look at it under the word sustainability and also the word environment. And when you use those two words, climate change and all that stuff, and the environment and sustainability, you got to go with Sachs and these other guys and the UN, and it's absolutely diabolical.
Absolutely, it's completely diabolical.
Yep.
So what really sparked this conversation, the reason I wanted to go in the direction of healthcare, was because of Pope Francis's comments last week, where he was talking about the New World Order, and he said that we should have a New World Order. And in that conversation, he mentioned a need for universal health care. And I kept thinking about it. I was like, why is the Pope pushing for universal health care?
Right.
Well, here's the thing. If you are, okay, let's just take the 3,000 mile or 3,000 foot view and look down and see what universal healthcare is, at least on its most basic element.
Sure.
Universal healthcare, at its most basic element, means everybody is going to be covered for every single ailment. So if you stub your toe, if you've got a hangnail, if you break your arm, if you've got, a gaping wound, if you have cancer, if you've got leukemia, if you've got AIDS, all of these things are going to be covered. Okay. So you're covered based on universal coverage. So whatever you need, we got.
In theory.
In theory.
Right.
But here's the problem. just as they acknowledge that there are limited resources on this planet with regard to food and building materials and energy supplies and that kind of thing. They talk an awful lot about resources regarding those things. They don't say a word about that with regard to healthcare.
Yeah.
Never.
Nope.
They never mention that regarding healthcare. And the reason is because they don't want people to get wise to the fact that what they're really talking about is restricting healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be able to turn to you and say, well, we've got universal coverage, but we also have limited resources, which means grandma just isn't worth it. She's not worth performing that surgery on. Why? Well, she's lived a long life and just we could use those resources elsewhere better.
Look at the comments at 737. Mir the Cat, Soylent Green for sure. My sister Joan, after rationing comes pressure for euthanasia.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Well, and that's exactly it. So if not euthanasia, at least palliative care, which is why palliative care is such a big thing in the church right now. Do you know how many organizations doing palliative care are getting resources and funding from various dioceses around the country?
No. What does that mean again, Hitch?
So palliative care is where it's the hopeless case. You've got terminal cancer. So
hospice
we're no longer going to, yeah, it's like hospice.
We're going to keep you well oiled.
Yes. Or just drugged.
Yes, right. That's what I mean.
And in a lot of times what they do is they drug you to the point of dying.
Yeah.
They start upping your dose of morphine. Oh, he's in pain. Well, why is he in pain? Because you're not giving him water. Well, that's exactly what happens though.
Yes.
They say, but they don't tell you they're not giving him water.
Right.
So they dehydrate him. Well, he looks uncomfortable. He doesn't look, why is he complaining? Well, he's complaining because, he's dying. So we're going to up his medicine. So they give him more morphine, not more water, more morphine, because the end goal is to see him out the door.
Right.
So that's the end goal of universal health care, is to turn to those elderly people and say, these individuals are what we deem to be useless eaters. They are consumers of resources without being producers of resources. And non-producers are no good in a socialist economy. Yes. And that's where we're headed. So all of this about universal health care is about controlling resources for the specific purpose of eliminating a particular class of people in our society. Who else do they want to get rid of? The people that are dysgenic. The people who are born with defects and disabilities that make them useless to society. And so this person who was born with no hands or no arms, the thalidomide baby type thing.
He has no value.
Okay. Has no value.
Right. Yeah.
And that individual, it's just better to do what the Greeks did and leave them to nature.
Oh, good Lord.
But that's the ultimate goal. Now, of course, they wouldn't say, oh, we're just going to throw them to the wolves. No, we're going to be compassionate about this. We're going to take care of them and make them comfortable until they make their graceful exit from this planet. That's what universal healthcare is all about. And the fact that you've got the Pope pushing this.
Yes.
So why is the Pope pushing it? Because universal healthcare isn't going to go anywhere without a moral voice.
Yes. And he's the shill.
That's right. So they need a moral authority who is going to implement their policies to such a degree that they can turn and say, see, you Catholics who are resisting this, your Pope says that this is what we need to be doing. Oh, well, I'm not holier than the Pope.
Bingo. We now add to that a poorly catechized congregation or, of Catholics who are just like, oh, well, I guess the Pope says so.
Right. Well, if the Pope says so, I guess that's what we got to do.
Hitch, could I jump in for a second?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah. there's one element to this conversation I think is absolutely imperative. Now, he's also showed his hand too. Well, he speaks out of both sides of his mouth, but the Pope is like, I don't mean to. This is hyperbole. He sounds like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. He has absolutely no understanding of free markets or economics. I mean, anyone who would purport, and I'll just prove this, bear with me. So here's why. He contends that inequality of wealth is caused by free markets and the idolatry of money by greedy capitalists. Right now, his critique of capitalism, or he uses modifiers, right? He's a big fan of that, like unbridled capitalism. But he calls for income redistribution through government action. This is I don't like you know what I'm saying. I don't even have to go any further than that. We know exactly what that is. In 2013, in a letter, Evangelii Gaudium, Francis wrote that the economy can no longer turn to remedies that are a new poison, such as attempting to increase profits by reducing the workforce and thereby adding the ranks of the excluded. Now, in 2008, I'm getting somewhere with this, right? In 2015, he proclaimed that the poor have a sacred right to labor, lodging, and land. Really? No, you don't. No one has a right to that. I think in theory, and it is certainly backed up by Catholicism, we have a human right to freedom and dignity, and we're compelled to take care of our neighbor through our Catholicism, because that's part of our salvation. But does a person have a sacred right to labor, lodging, and land? No. Layoffs are a sin. Did you know that, Hitch? So
I heard that.
Yes. So despite the fact that you're keeping a company alive, which by the way is where the jobs come from, contrary to Nancy Pelosi and Alexandria Ocasio, because actually they're produced by the private sector. And he also wants to he also wants to have a universal wage and increase the minimum wage, which destroys all sorts of businesses. Now, what's my point of all this, right? So now we have this Pope who clearly does not understand anything about what has happened in history in the last 120 years, because what he's actually putting forth Marxism, right? We all know this. Yep. And so now he's in bed with the guys who are calling for this, and they're talking about this one world government, Great Reset stuff. And he is the moral authority. And I would ask you, Hitch, because let's face it. So what do we got here? We got, and I really want your opinion because I don't know the answer. I think I do, but I'd be interested in yours. So we have things like redistribution of wealth, taking over central planning of all resources, telling people that they're going to live a certain way and be happy. No freedom. What's his payoff? Because they need him as a moral authority. Is it the X amount of dollars he's getting from China? Is he getting? Is there a pay under the table? I'm genuinely curious because
So the payout from China, I think
that's different, right?
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, but I'm saying that. Something like that.
Now we have to remember where Pope Francis came from.
Yes, he's a Peronist.
He's a Peronist. Okay, so and that's another thing that you just can't state often enough. Yes. He's a Peronist, which means he's a socialist. Yeah.
Yeah.
As a Peronist, he's also very much in line with liberation theology. He attended the Liberation Theology Conference in 1972. Yes.
Which, by the way, he says he rejects, but out of one side of his mouth, right? But all his actions point to it. Right.
That's right. Yes. So this is right. What a Peronist would do. This is what Juan Perón would have done. Yes. You say, what's the famous story? Which way would you like me to go to the airport? Signal right and turn left. So this is exactly what Pope Francis does. He signals right and he turns left. So anyway, the answer to your question about why he's doing this or what he gets out of it, I think he's a true believer.
Okay,
because he's a true believer. I think that he actually, unless he's actually a Luciferian devil worshiper, which, considering he put a Pachamama plant on the altar of St. Peter's and has not said mass there since.
Discuss amongst yourselves.
Not since. Oh, and now all masses in St. Peter's are done.
Yep.
There are no masses at St. Peter's.
Yep.
I'm not going to say he's a devil worshiper because I can't prove it.
Yep.
But
I hear you. Yeah, I mean, this is what we're dealing with here. I mean, you can't make this up. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So, in terms of what else may motivate him, I think it just boils down to him being a true believer. I think he honestly believes in creating some sort of world utopia, and in so doing, he thinks that he's going to be some great hero. I really think that he believes that at the end of his life, people are going to erect giant statues to the great Pope Francis, who helped herald in this marvelous, wonderful society that we just wouldn't have had it not been for his moral voice.
Great answer.
I really think that's where he's coming from.
I got to tell you,
Francis the humble.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to sandbag you because I generally wanted to, but I think that is a great answer. Remind you of anyone? John F. Kennedy? What I'm saying is that, in terms of Biden 2.0, he's going to go to the UN and give up the United States military supremacy just so he can go down in the history books as the great peace leader. And I think your answer is very accurate. I think that he believes his own nonsense. He really does. And look, one has to question his, I don't know how to put it, his dedication to the deposit of faith, obviously.
Yeah.
It's a fair question, right? I do. I think that is fair. I'm not making a statement. I'm posing that question because sometimes I wonder, you're clearly socialism, Marxism, and redistribution of wealth are Marxist doctrines, which the church has come out against time after time. Nothing has changed except the fact that we have a litmus test called history. Right? Nothing's changed. And so yet this is going up. So I think your answer is actually right on the money. Why else would somebody do that?
So the reason that I wanted to talk about universal healthcare again was to show not just the interconnectivity of these programs, which is exactly what they are. I mean, universal healthcare is connected to his promotion of the Sustainable Development Goals, which is connected to his promotion of the environmentalist nonsense, which is connected to his desire for a unified religious front, because he doesn't just want the Catholic Church to have, all the say in regards to what's moral and not. He wants the Muslims to also get on board with all of their nonsense. So we have to transcend religious lines in order to achieve a political end. So the universal healthcare is one big part of it, but it's a massive chunk, and it's got to be done. This is, I mean, Hillary Clinton. Remember Hillary Care back in the 1990s?
Yeah.
Which was roundly rejected by everyone across the country. Congress voted that thing out like it was a capsule of cyanide. Nobody wanted it, mostly because nobody wanted to be Canada.
Yes.
But Hillary Clinton's universal health care call was completely rejected, and under George Bush, there was talk of health reform, but it didn't really go anywhere, and people just kind of said, who cares? But then you get Barack Obama. You get Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi, and the fact that they were able to get a unified Congress to just by the thinnest margin pass Obamacare, the Affordable Health Care Act. And that was the first step to achieving universal health care, because it was a way to centralize the means of coverage. So everybody has to have coverage now. How do you have how do you get universal health care coverage? You create a mandatory Ponzi scheme. And that's exactly what it is. It's a mandatory Ponzi scheme.
Yes, it is. Right.
So they created a mandatory Ponzi scheme where now that you're in it, to get out of it means you lose. You lose everything that's been invested into it, and you get no benefit of leaving. So you have to stay in. And now and they fought Trump tooth and nail in trying to get rid of Obamacare, in trying to undo what Obama had done. Thank God he was able to get rid of the requirement for coverage.
Yes.
That was the linchpin to the whole thing. And now Congress is scrambling to try and figure out a new way of forcing all of us to have universal health care coverage in the United States. And they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to get a way to get it done. And this is why they're moving very quickly, because right now, at least on paper, they've got both houses and they have the president. But this is also why George Soros and Jeffrey Sachs and Schiff, what's his name? The guy, World Economic Forum guy.
Oh, Klaus Schwab.
Schwab.
Right.
This is why all those guys universally for the last 2 years was like, we've got to get Trump out.
Oh, yeah.
We cannot achieve our goals if Trump is in again. And this is why they needed him out. And now that he's out, everybody is marching in the same exact direction, including Pope Francis, because all of these guys are his friends.
Yeah.
These are the people that he associates with. These are the people whose agendas he's trying to push. And the universal healthcare coverage, which Bush or which Pope Francis is trying to get implemented,
right,
is all about, and I've said it again, I'm going to say it again, it's all about reducing the population by controlling resources. That's what the whole thing is about. That's the whole plan, the whole kit and caboodle.
Fair enough.
So, do you have anything else?
Oh, no, I got you. Yeah, bear with me a second.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think
did we hit all our marks?
I think we hit all the marks. Right. I really wanted to. Especially with that economic angle to it. So, if I could, just to make sure, like, there's clarity for, so like recapping the thing is that you have a situation where the Pope is clearly in bed with people who are the exact antithesis of Catholicism in their execution of public policy. Right? He's told us that we're supposed to, as good Catholics, follow the UN. That one we didn't touch upon too much. Right? So now we have the healthcare system and the environment, all of which is intertwined. He has absolutely no understanding, or I say he has a disdain for capitalism. Oh, that's what I wanted to say, if I haven't already. One thing worth noting, and this is a key point, from the year 2000 to the year 2012, absolute poverty in the world was cut in half. How?
In half.
Cut in half. Absolute poverty cut in half. How? Hitch, you know why? Free market. Capitalism. Yeah. That's exactly how it works. So even if we had given the entire reins over and handed the keys to the house to the UN and let them do whatever they wanted to do in the year 2000 with their nutsy plans, they, even by their own admission, they had no intention of getting anywhere near that number. So what have we learned, right, in actual practicality? By free markets and capitalism, and it's not a perfect system, because capitalism without Christ, remember? Right. Yeah, we talked about this. It's a very key point. As you say, two sides of the same dialectic coin, right? On one hand, you have socialism. On the other hand, you have unrestrained capitalism, materialism. They're both materialism, right? Is that fair? Or is that pretty much the deal? So, but in absolute poverty and starvation has been cut in half. They didn't even know what to do with it, yet somehow but that's not fitting the narrative, and that gets in the way of their power grab. So we're going to forget that. It has nothing to do with helping people. That's a huge number right there. Half of the world's population in absolute poverty got. Now they're all eating. We're going to forget all that. I guess this doesn't work. We still have to do redistribution of wealth. That's what I wanted to say. So, you there? Oh, I think Hitch locked up. Hang on. Oh, I think you locked up, Hitch. Right there.
I'm back. I don't know why my internet does that sometimes.
Yeah. But that's how you heard me, right? You heard the last part.
Yeah, I heard everything you said. So, okay. I forgot what the point that I was going to make. So that's okay.
Sorry, Sorry about that.
That's all right. No, it wasn't your fault. You don't control the interwebs. So, all right. I think that's going to do it for this week, because, like I said, I'm sorry. I apologize again for my presentation not being as polished as it normally would be. Just lots of stuff going on. Please say a prayer for us, because I think that we are on the cusp of doing some really fantastic things, and we've got some great things coming towards you guys. So keep on the lookout for it. One last thing before I go, I'm going to give you that link one more time to the video report, and I would love for you to send me an email. Here's the link. I would love for you to send me an email just letting me know your thoughts about this particular report. Personally, I'm a little proud of it, but anyway.
Can I say one more thing, Hitch?
Yeah.
If I could really quickly, you guys, I go through the analytics all the time, and Hitch and I talk about this, about what's on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for passing. Hitch, we have a good deal of organic growth. People have been passing our videos along, and I think that's just a wonderful thing. And guys, you're huge supporters of us, but if you could also keep an eye on that. If you see something that you find interesting, please pass it along to family and friends, because shadow banning is a real thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I'm having a blast doing these general quarters shows. We just did Bug Hall again, and he, on his consecration to Lady Poverty, really interesting stuff. Steve Brady, but even Steve Brady, a lot of that came from organic movement. So thanks, you guys. We have to protect the message and keep it going. So that's all I got, Hitch.
Very good. So let's go ahead and close with our prayer, and then I will see. By the way, we are not going to have an anchor team next week. It's Good Friday.
Oh, right. Of course.
It's Good Friday. So I will be out at our parish doing Good Friday services. So we are not going to be around for Good Friday.
Good.
So I hope you all have a very, very blessed Holy Week, an incredibly grace-filled Easter, and we will see you the week after. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
Amen.
Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum. Benedicta tu in mulieribus et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus.
Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostri. Amen.
Our Lady of Victory.
Pray for us.
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. All right, everybody. God bless you all. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.